Hello everybody, welcome to thelastpanel.com. Also, welcome everyone who's viewing this on YouTube. I'm Robert Storms. I want to break down and talk about Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 22. Now, I'm going to let everybody know ahead of time that this is a review of a comic book, so it will include spoilers. So if you do not want to be spoiled, don't want the story to be ruined, then I suggest you press stop or pause on this video, walk away, go grab the comic and read it because major spoilers are coming. Ultimate Spider-Man, issue number 22, written by Brian Michael Bendis. Now, everybody knows that I was not the biggest fan of Miles Morales when he first showed up. I felt that basically Marvel killed off Peter Parker just so they can bring in a minority character to try to usher in a new era. And I felt that was okay to do that. Granted, my original video, it came off like I was a very racist person or so on, and I understand all the comments. But what I was really meaning to say was, it's fine to bring in a new character as Spider-Man, a new minority character, whatever. The ethnic background isn't what matters with this character. What I didn't like was the fact that they killed Peter off just for the sole purpose of bringing in that character. I felt they could have, easily just had Peter, give up the costume and just say, I quit. And then this guy comes in and does it. And I also thought that Ben Reilly, who is a black character in the Ultimate Universe, would have been a better character to take over as the new Spider-Man. But I never dropped the book. I said in the rant video that, I'm going to keep on. If it's good, I'm going to stay on. I'm not going to just quit the book because I didn't agree with the steps Marvel took. And after reading issue 22, it's clear that Marvel probably jumped the gun on this one, and they had to shake things up. And issue 22 is, if you're ever going to get into Ultimate Spider-Man with, the Miles Morales, because a lot of people stopped reading Ultimate Spider-Man after Peter Parker died because they didn't like Miles Morales. And, if there's ever a time to jump on, it's right now. And I never gave up on Ultimate Spider-Man. I read it all from the beginning, and I don't hate the kid. I like Miles Morales. There were some great moments in these past 2 years where I really enjoyed the character, especially with the crossover between Spider-Man and the crossover Spider-Man written by Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli, where Peter meets Miles. Amazing Universe comes over to the Ultimate Universe and meets Miles. Great 5-issue story. I got it in hardcover. I got all 5 issues. I got it digitally. I love that story. The first kind of story arc with Miles was him face up against his uncle and the death of his uncle, and then there really wasn't much left after that. He fought the Scorpion, he fought Electro. It was mostly for him getting in with S.H.I.E.L.D. and him, realizing his true identity. But the problem I had with Miles was the fact that he complained about really everything, and he had nothing to complain about. He was always moping around, almost emo, and this was a guy who has both his parents, is in private school, has a good friend, Genki. I mean, what really are you to complain about besides the fact your uncle's a dillhole? I got 5 uncles who are dillholes. So, I mean, I really didn't understand that one. But some of the best stories came when they had Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane in there. There was an issue when Gwen Stacy came, and Gwen Stacy said, Miles was like, why did Peter Parker, he just found out Miles, or Peter died and Miles could help him, and she's like, or Miles rather was like, why did Peter do this, why did Peter do that, and Gwen's like, well, this is why he did that, and it was a great connecting and between the two characters, great story, and I loved it, and that really kind of said, I like Miles Morales, he's a good character, let's see what happens. So we get to issue 22, after 4 minutes of back explaining this stuff, we get to issue 22. For the past few issues, we had the Venom War. Basically, Venom comes back. They don't explain how. The last time I remember seeing Venom, he was fighting the Carnage symbiote, and this robot bug guy zapped him in this thing. But we never explain why Venom's back, why he's going after, Miles' father, obviously because he thinks he's Spider-Man, but why does he have such a grudge? We never understood any of this. Well, anyway, at the end of this issue, here comes the spoiler, Miles' mother gets killed during the battle with Venom. it happens at the last fight scene happens at the hospital, and in the process of Miles fighting Venom, his mother actually dies, and he wakes up and he says no more, and rips up the costume the next day because he realizes his mom's gone. He's never going to see his mom again. In fact, he's living with Genki and his mother right now because his father, Jefferson Davis, is also in the hospital due to the fight with Venom. So a lot of stuff happened in this story arc and in this issue. Was one, we see the return of Venom, a badass character, even though it's not explained to us where he came from, why he's particularly after Spider-Man again. But, you know, we have Venom come back, then we have Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane come back, and whenever you have supporting cast like that, it just amps up the story that much better. The biggest downfall with Miles Morales isn't Miles Morales' character, it's his supporting cast. He has the worst supporting cast in a comic book, you know? I mean, he has his friend Genki, and Genki is such a horrible character. He is so motionless, he's not funny, he's more annoying than anything. I mean, with Peter Parker, you had a great cast of supporting character. You had JJ, you had Betty Brant, Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy, Captain Stacy, Black Cat, Aunt May. I don't know if I said Aunt May, but yeah, I mean, you had a great supporting characters, not just Peter Parker. Where with Miles, all you have is Genki, his mom, and his dad, and his uncle before his uncle died in the first story arc. And more often than not, the story centered around Genki and Miles, and it was just complete boring. We don't want to see Genki's a horrible character, you know? And personally, I felt that Genki was the one that should have died. It really should have. But with them killing off Miles' mom, to me, it was ballsy, but it shows that Marvel really rushed out to get this character out there. You know, they just like, hey, Bendis, you know, I know you're working on Ultimate Spider-Man, here's the script. You know, here's the script to what we're doing. And Bendis on the fly had to come up with this whole new world for this new character. Because I still say this is not Bendis' idea. This was Marvel and the new chief and editor wanting to bring in a new era into comics. And if you watch the interviews, he says that. So what I think was, if this came on Bendis' stem, Bendis had to do something with it. So now I read an interview with Bendis, and Bendis says, well, issue 23 is going to be a dramatic change, where Miles, after the death of his mother, he gives up being Spider-Man for a year. The book is going to leap a year later, where Miles is more grown up, you know, because he's hitting that puberty era or age, you know, so he's going to grow up. I've seen pictures of him in the next issue, and he's more grown up, more muscular. Genki's older, you know, even though it's a year, this is the time in the kid's life where in a year, a lot could change. So, and Bendis even said, well, in the Amazing book, we can never do this. In the Ultimate Universe, we have the freedom to do this. So, right there, you can see where Marvel jumped the gun on this. Where they were like, you know, let's hurry up and get this character out. They didn't have time to develop him. There was no reason for Miles being Spider-Man, except for the fact that he got bit by the spider, and he felt he was, you know, guilty for the death of Peter Parker. Other than that, there's no reason why Miles should be Spider-Man. And then, now that his mother dies, there can be a reason why he can justify being Spider-Man now. But, I mean, the next 3 to 4 issues is going to be really, really interesting, and I can't wait for it. Ultimate Spider-Man number 22, if you have not read it, go pick it up and give it a try. I mean, if you have a computer, Comixology, you can download it right to your computer. In fact, I have this in my subscription box at my comic shop, but I'm not going to next Tuesday, but I wanted to read this story so bad that I bought it ahead of time on Comixology on my iPad, and that's how I read it. You know, because I don't want to wait all the way to next week to go get it, because I live quite far from my comic shop. I don't travel out there very often. So, definitely pick it up. If you are skeptical of Miles Morales, this is the comic to pick up. Don't hold it a grudge because of his skin color or ethnic background. Bendis is a great writer. He knows what he's doing. He's fixing the mistakes that Marvel has done to rush this character out. and I think he deserves to read. Until next time, guys, I'm Robert Storms, and that's my opinion.